Hey there, I am Marlena from CoachMarlena.com, and I am going to be talking to you today about what you don't realize when you stay too long. And I'm not talking about a relationship, I'm talking about in a job that's really taking everything that you are meant to give to the world away from you because I'm talking to you if you are feeling unfulfilled, if you are feeling stifled, if you are feeling drained or exhausted. This message is for you because I want you to really give yourself permission to acknowledge where you are and how you feel so that you can start to take steps to move out of that. And we'll talk about that in a second. So, one of the top things you don't realize when you are feeling this way or you staying in a job for too long is that it starts to affect your ability to do amazing work, right? So if I'm talking to you, you making six figures, you don't like your job, and that's typically the clientele I'm working with. You guys, you're making good money, and it's really hard to wrestle with yourself that this is no longer working for you because one, you feel guilty, right? That it's not working, and you feel like you got to fix it. So one of the things you don't realize, I think the top thing is your inability to really contribute at the level in which you know that you can. Because when you stay somewhere too long, you start to diminish your output. It's because not because you can't do work, but it's because it takes so much more out of you. You're giving at a higher capacity, and it's taking you a lot longer to deliver at the same level that maybe you used to when you were more aligned to your work. Because you had passion kind of fueling you, you had impact fueling you, and when you don't have those ingredients, it's gonna take you a lot longer to make a nice dish, right? You're making something and you're not having as much to put into it, so you spend a lot more time just trying to get that completed and ready. And so one of the things that I've noticed is you will work becomes harder. You don't realize it. Work becomes harder. You end up working more hours because it's taking you longer because you're procrastinating on the things that you need to be doing. The other thing you don't realize is everything is more taxing, more draining. We don't tend to give ourselves a lot of credit or a lot of thought around our emotional health. I mean, it's more of a acceptable term and even idea these days, but in the day in, day out, if you're a Black woman that's out here doing everything you got to do, you spend very little time thinking about how am I feeling. You're just trying to push through. It's almost one of our cultural norms is that as women, but especially Black women, you just keep going. You just keep pushing through. You just figure it out. And what you don't realize is that you're really taking a lot of energy and your livelihood from yourself as you try to give to this job that really is no longer serving you. And then you, in turn, no longer can serve it. So you potentially, as you're burning out, could be potentially burning bridges, which I don't want anyone to do. But it's something that I think along this journey, you don't realize is happening because you just keep trying and you keep trying to figure it out. And one of the tell signs I tell my clients that, this is where you are, is that you can tell if you're trying to find every productivity tip in the world, try to help this be better. You're just trying to figure out how to make this job work for yourself. And you're listening to podcasts on productivity. You're trying to get more time back, essentially. And it's because this is taking away your time and your energy in a way that does not fulfill your life. Because if you spend it all day, like I'll give you the example, Beyonce spends a considerable amount of time on her career. And while I'm sure she always is trying to figure out the balance with everything else in her life, it's not draining her. It fulfills her in such a way that she may negotiate what goes first in what order, but she's not avoiding it. And so if you're finding that you're procrastinating, you're avoiding the work, you don't get on these calls on time, you find that it's taking so much more time for you to get the things you know how to get done because there's a resistance to it, then I'm speaking to you. Another thing you don't realize is that when you're doing that, it becomes harder to be connected and to be engaged with other areas of your life. So I'm a mom and I have 3 boys, and I'm a wife as well. And I come from a big family. It's really hard to serve the people after, an 8-12 hour workday, especially now when everybody's together all the time. It's going to be real hard to stay engaged with them and be intentional if it is killing you to do the work that you got to do. And it's going to be damaging to your relationships because you're human. You can't help but feel like you want to get an escape at some point. And if you feel kind of married to the job, you feel married to your family. But it becomes a chore. Something that you genuinely love becomes, in your mind and in your spirit, really encapsulated with another thing on the list to do. And that's really not the way that you're meant to live at all. And so this kind of sounds maybe affirming to you if you're listening, which I hope so, because I want to connect with you. But I wanted to also just share that it doesn't have to be this way. One of the things, and I'll put a link here at the bottom, is I do have a quiz that you could take just to figure out what your next move is if this is not you and you might be in a different boat. But also the fact is, it's about telling your truth, like getting really honest. That is so freeing when we are in a place that is not helping us and we feel it, but we can't face it. It becomes so hard to just move through our day to day. And that's just not what you're meant to do. I have this on my wall. If you guys can see it, it says be a warrior. And that's what I believe all of my clients are. Like, they're warriors. I'm a warrior for them. And what we do together is really, I want to help you understand that, one, the truth of who you are and what would be meaningful work for you does exist. I know in this pandemic, so many people, it's very flight or flight going on right now for a lot of folks. And I'm not going to negate that. But what I want to say is we have more accessible to us than we think we do. And so I don't want you to give yourself an excuse. If anything, let this pandemic be a push that, you're not realizing that this job is really taking a lot out of you, potentially putting you in a position to burn bridges because you're burned out, that, there's no time like the present. Like, anything can happen at any moment. If this pandemic has not taught us anything, it's taught us that. And you want to have a say in your future, and you want to be living from a place where you're contributing and you're making an impact and you're still making good money, right? So I'm speaking to the women that are, making 6 figures and they don't like what they do. They feel really like they're struggling. That does not mean you have to then not make any money at all doing what would be meaningful to you. What it means is you got work to do in terms of discovering, which is fun, right? Discovering what is meaningful work for you at this point in your life, not what you thought was going to be there. You may have reached a certain height. I did this in my own journey. I wanted to get into IT. I did. I accomplished that. I wanted to get into management. I did. I accomplished that. But I got there and it was not the right place for me, or it was not the place in which I felt compelled to move to. And so I want to also offer to you, the first step is getting to the truth of what is meaningful work for you. What would light you up, and what could you contribute better than anyone else, and getting you to a position and a role that's going to allow you to do that. And to make the kind of money that you deserve because you're making it now, but to do that in a place where you're genuinely happy, authentically yourself, and you're feeling fulfilled, and you're feeling like the seed that was planted in you is actually getting watered. And there's nothing more refreshing than that. And so I wanted to do this video again to, one, help you guys realize what you're not seeing potentially as you push through and you just try to make it. But also that there is hope and you can do meaningful work. You don't have to do what you're doing. I'm a testament of that. My clients are a testament of that. And that there's a community of people out here that are doing that as well. What you have to do in order for that to happen, though, is I'm trying to point to it: be a warrior for yourself and not just for your job or for the titles, and really go after building the life you want and having a life by design, not default. And I know you can do it. So please let me know in the comments what you think about this video, and I'll also link the quiz just to be of service and help you guys out even more in figuring out what your next move is.